Oh, I just saw the resource that someone sent in the chat and I love it. I'll look at it later. But I like that people are sending things. And so because of, our fast fashion and the kind of commercialism around Halloween, about 40% of costumes that are store-bought are only worn one single time before they're sent to landfills. Um, which is astonishing because you're thinking about how much money you're spending on that product to then throw it away after one night of use, but also how much waste we're generating if 40% of a Halloween store that we see is completely filled to the brim with clothing goes to landfill within, a couple of weeks. And then about 83% of Halloween costumes that are, on the market broadly, are made of non-recyclable plastic, or plastic-based polymers. So really anything that isn't like a natural organic material in our, clothing sector, is plastic-based, like polyester. And so a lot of that, when in our landfills, will take, hundreds and hundreds of years to break down fully, if ever, and also will release microplastics into, our environment as it does. And then, of course, outside of Halloween, we see increased clothing purchases during the holiday season. The data on this is a little bit shaky because it's a hard thing to track. But people are buying clothing as gifts. People are buying clothing for their family Christmas cards, or for their New Year's events. People are buying clothes specifically for family pictures or family photos. And so it comes from more than just Halloween and gift giving. It really is just like a part of the season. And because of all of these factors, textile and clothing waste is now the fastest growing waste stream in the United States. And this isn't entirely tied to the holidays. We do see overconsumption of clothing from, fast fashion year round. This is a growing problem across the globe. But our holiday use of fashion and textiles is growing as our population and our consumerism around clothing grows. Okay. And then energy waste is something that I think a lot of people don't really consider because it's not quite as tangible. Although I think a lot of people think about energy waste when they're paying their electric bills every month, because you're seeing it go up during this season, maybe. And our consumption of energy grows during this time of year for a number of reasons. We are normally gathering with people around us more, so we might be cooking larger meals. Just housing people increases your energy use. We're also plugging in holiday lights and decorations. I've already started to see them in Oregon, people with like the giant inflatable pumpkins in their front yard that are plugged in and light up like 24/7. Um, and then, of course, as our weather cools down, which we were talking about a little earlier before everyone, or as people were joining, as our, outdoor temperatures decrease, our use of heat, and energy to heat our homes will increase. And then we also tend to travel during the holidays a lot, maybe less so for Halloween, although maybe some people are traveling to go places for Halloween. But for Thanksgiving and winter holidays, especially, we see really high volumes of people traveling. So in 2024, about 49%, so almost exactly half of the United States, plan to travel between November and mid-January at least once. And so we see this in a lot of other ways beyond just our energy consumption. We see that in, plane tickets rising and, like congestion on our roadways. But in terms of energy, that travel takes a lot of toll on our carbon emissions. So if we're flying, we're using carbon. If we're driving places, we're using carbon. And so, or creating carbon emissions. So that contributes to our energy waste during this time of year as well. So that was kind of a very scary overview of all of the ways that we're generating waste in our environment during this season. But there are a ton of ways we can make a positive impact on all of these things. And I also have a lot of resources to share on all of those things. If you are interested, I can share them at the end. It's just hard to do when I'm screen sharing. But we're going to go through them sort of in order of occurrence. So here are some ways to have a more sustainable Halloween. And this is the one we're closest to. So we have a couple weeks to, really get started on building a sustainable pattern for that holiday. So my first like tip is to like reuse and repurpose things you already have in your house, kind of get crafty. So this is like creating your own costume or building your own decorations. Um, so you don't have to buy the like store-bought plastic ghosts to hang in your tree. You can like hang a sheet with some eyes on it or some felt eyes on it. Um, on your tree or over a tomato wire cage. And it looks just the same and has way less of an impact. Designing your own costume can be a little bit more time consuming, but if you think about it for long enough, you can almost always come up with like some sort of movie character or TV character you enjoy that you can emulate through clothes you already own in your home. Um, and you can also like host a clothing swap or buy secondhand costumes. There are kind of pop-up markets for this. I know clothing swaps are a thing in your guys' area. I've seen that. Um, but they're also secondhand and sustainable clothing venue, or not venues, but places you can buy things online to reduce the amount of things we're buying, which can be good for your pocketbook, but also can be good for the environment. And then of course, candy is a huge part of Halloween, and especially for kids and the kids in our life. And so just being conscious of the candy you're buying for your trick-or-treaters or for the people in your life and how it's packaged. So always opt for non-plastic packaging if that's something available to you, or reasonable to you. Um, but I always try not to buy the double plastic packaging, so something that's individually packaged in plastic, but then also like in a second layer of plastic. Like the whole bag of candy is a plastic bag, and then the individual piece of candy are plastic bags. So this can happen by buying, or ways to avoid this is by buying candy in bulk, so at least you're not buying the second layer of plastic and just the individual pieces. But also there are some candies on the market now that are not packaged in plastic. Like lollipops and stuff have sometimes like paper or wax wrappers. And then to reduce the food waste that we see from Halloween, I know in my family there was always more candy than the kids in my house could eat. And so you can bake with Halloween candy. Especially going into the like season where you're mingling with people and maybe doing cookie exchanges or whatever. Cookies that have like the little Hershey's Kisses on them, or chocolate cookies that have, broken up pieces of Kit Kats or something are delicious ways to reduce the food waste during this season. It's also a time when you might not have control over the amount of plastic entering your own home. And so, turning the plastic waste that comes with the candy, into, into something usable is also great. And then, composting pumpkins, if you're a pumpkin carver, displaying them for as long as you can and then composting them instead of sending them to landfill is a really great way to reduce that output. And then Thanksgiving is kind of our next major holiday. One of the ways we see a lot of waste around Thanksgiving time is single-use dishes, cookware, and utensils. And so people, when they're hosting, oftentimes don't want to do the dishes for, 10 people in their life when they're already hosting a family gathering or friends gathering, which is totally understandable. But I would encourage people to use reusable dishes and cookware and utensils, when they can. Um, Also coming prepared, um, with, reusable take-home containers. If you anticipate leftovers, which I almost always do during my winter gatherings, I feel like that's almost a part of the culture of Thanksgiving at this point is creating excess food. So coming prepared with reusable take-home containers, or asking guests to if you're the one hosting and don't want to have to like front all of those Tupperwares and then have to collect them all from your family. And then storing leftovers properly, to make sure they last the longest. So look up how long things will last in the freezer. Look up how long things will last in the fridge. Some things like turkey might not last as long as things like corn. And so making sure that we're, you know, making the leftovers last as long as they possibly can, and making good use of them while we have them. There are also tons and tons of resources online about what kind of fun or different meals you can make with Thanksgiving leftovers. So kind of repurposing the classic Thanksgiving foods like classic or turkey and cranberry sauce and mashed potatoes into, new foods that you're not just eating the same leftovers for a week straight, because that can get a little old. And then donation and composting are just good ways to dispose of food waste when it's inevitable or when you don't have a way to avoid it, or maybe you didn't get to those leftovers in your fridge in time. Most or a lot of places have protections on people that donate food so that you can't be held like responsible for someone gets sick or anything. So if that's a barrier to you, I would encourage you to look up your local ordinances and laws. And then composting food is just always a good alternative if you have a compost in your own yard or if someone has one near you or in your community. And then gift giving is something that happens throughout the holiday season. And so a lot of gift wrap that we see during the holidays, but also, for birthdays or other gift times throughout the year are plastic based. And that's made to make them, or it's oftentimes to make them shinier or more durable or easier to cut. And so opting for non-plastic wrapping paper, so paper wrapping paper that's, recyclable, or like fabric wraps are becoming more popular and they're very decorative and reusable, which I love personally. But also like recyclable paper. And then um, instead of taping things, which can oftentimes like create a barrier to recycling, using twine or other tape-free methods to secure the wrapping paper. I picked this picture for this slide because I thought it was really pretty. I like how they're all decorated with the, pretty nature elements, but also with the twine tying it all together. And then to reduce our plastic consumption when shopping for gifts, which is something that I at least really enjoy doing for my family during this time of year. I really enjoy shopping for them and picking out things I know they'll enjoy. But it's always kind of hard when something you really want to buy is wrapped in like 3 layers of plastic. Um, but prioritizing shopping locally versus online, shopping online, having it shipped to you can increase, the amount of plastic you're wasting because oftentimes plastic or packages come to us from online retailers, wrapped in bubble wrap or with those plastic pillows or full of packing peanuts. Um, but it also just supports local businesses, which is always nice during this time of year and year round. And then it also just prioritizing the length of use of the things you're buying and their reusability. So trying not to buy, single-use items for your loved ones, and also just making sure that, it's actually something they're going to use and want to continue using for years to come. And then also just like in your gift giving, considering experiential, homemade, sentimental, or thrifted gifts. So experiential gifts, like every year I take one of my family members she's a child, to the zoo as like our gift to her, and like we do a whole day out of it. And that's very low waste. She looks forward to it every year. We do, sentimental gifts, like things that might be homemade if you're a crafty type of person, um, or like baked goods for people. And then cards are also a huge source of waste during this time of year. We're giving them to people we see in person. We might also be sending them out to people that we know, far and wide. But holiday cards can be a huge source of plastic. So oftentimes, again, to make them shiny, they'll be coated in some sort of layer of plastic. And a lot of them also have glitter, which a lot of glitter is just like microplastics. And so trying to opt out of those things so that we're not contributing those environmental, hazards while we celebrate. So I always love doing like, homemade cards, recycled cards, or just those digital cards that you can kind of personalize and looks cute. Um, but also kind of I mean, there are some people in your life that might not want digital cards and like hang them up on their mantle or whatever. Um, but homemade cards can still look really beautiful and put together. They just take a little bit more time and effort. Yes, and someone in the chat just said that glitter makes them unrecyclable, which is true, that paper, when it's covered in glitter, becomes unrecyclable because the glitter is plastic glued to paper. Um, and then last but not least, energy waste, which I chose not to single this out as a holiday because it kind of is all-encompassing, and we can deal with it in similar ways for all of the holidays that we're talking about today. But energy efficient holiday lights are a big one. I every year I enjoy going on like a drive or a walk through my neighborhood and looking at all the beautiful lights people have on their homes. And this is true from, Halloween time on. There are already people that have their homes decked out in orange, purple, and black for Halloween. And, using lights that are durable and you're not gonna use them one season and then throw them away. But also prioritizing the use of LEDs because they are significantly more energy efficient than other bulbs, than non-LED bulbs. And then using lighting and decoration timers. I know I'm definitely guilty of forgetting to turn off my lights when I go out. And so using timers so that you're getting the best use out of them without wasting any more electricity. So, maybe have them set to turn on when the sun goes down so that it's, they're on when the sun is down so you see them the best to the time you go to bed and, you're not going to be using them or looking at them or admiring them anymore. And then appliance use is also something that skyrockets during the holiday season. So a lot of this comes from our cooking and our, going in and out of places a lot. So doubling up cook times when possible, like maybe you have biscuits and a pie that can bake at the same temperature at the same time. And then minimizing the amount of fridge and freezer and oven opens during cooking. So as hard as it is to resist, like opening the oven to smell the cookies you're baking, leaving it closed and using the oven light instead, to reduce the amount of energy you're using. And then when you're putting, your bags and bags of groceries away during this season, trying to get in and out of the fridge as quickly as possible and the freezer. And then winterizing your home for cooler weather, trying to optimize, the effectiveness of your heating system or cooling systems. And then again, optimizing travel plans. Um, and so that can look like maybe carpooling. If you're going to Thanksgiving in a town away, maybe you have a friend that's also going to be spending Thanksgiving in the same town visiting a different family. And so coordinating your travel, so maybe you can carpool, or carpool to the airport with other family members if you are flying somewhere. So it doesn't take a whole lot to make a big difference on these kinds of things. And with energy waste, you'll not only see the benefit to the environment, you'll also see, in a lot of ways, a benefit to your electric bills, which is always kind of nice. Um, so I would love, that's kind of my overview. I would love to know, I know people have sent a lot of things in the chat, but I would love to know like what you guys have done to optimize your energy or your, waste reduction during the holidays and how you guys have made a difference on this. I'm also happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Well, I will get us started. I do want to encourage you to take a look at the messages in the chat. Dwayne mentioned smart plugs to set up with
Mhm.
schedules. Dan mentions using solar lights for outdoor decoration. Um, and those are both really good ideas.
Yeah. Solar lights are becoming more and more popular, and I love that for all decorations outdoors and indoors all year. So that's definitely a really good option, and there are ways to, um, like at like home stores to hook up non-solar lights or non-solar lights to solar things to make them solar powered.
Oh, good. Uh,
So you don't have to buy like a whole new set of or string of lights.
okay. I'll mention a couple of things that occurred to me and also showed up in the chat on composting. Dwayne has a message also about
Mhm.
that composting does not produce methane in the same way that putting things in the landfill would do.
Yeah.
So
It's one
that,
of the yeah, one of the biggest advantages of composting is that it reduces our methane emissions.
well, and also you get really great soil to use
That's true.
for
Yeah,
plants
if
and
you're
garden.
hmm
We have a city program that you can join to take your food scraps and drop them off. And the city has a composting program. And Kevin pointed out that if you're not interested in that, there's an organization in town called Desert Compostables that will take your scraps. They pick them up and it's a monthly charge, but very reasonable, and it's an easy way to take care of that if you're not going to be able to compost them yourself. Um, Pumpkins, I want to encourage people to eat, toast it, clean, dry, and toast the seeds, and they make a terrific snack. So you're not just wasting that part of the pumpkin. Um, any number of places will take them to share with their animals. And in Tucson, I'd encourage you to check out Ishkashita, and if they're going to be collecting pumpkins after Halloween. And one last thing on costumes. We've got great thrift stores. We've got a lot of thrift stores here in Tucson. Um, and I know one in particular on Fourth Avenue specifies that it does costumes, but any of them you're going to be able to find either already prepared costumes that people have donated into the thrift store or the elements that you would need to make them up. And because of the heavy rains this weekend, you have another chance to go to a clothing swap at Tucson Village Farm. You can check out the Tucson Village Farm website and find out details about the clothing swap that they're going to have this weekend. So, and I know we've got people with lots of other ideas and more things that are showing up.
I'm sending the couple resources that I have in the chat as well.
Okay, we've got some great things.
Yeah, I love the idea of giving like healthier treats that aren't just like candy. But also I like the pencils. That would have been really fun, especially if they were kind of cool pencils. Stickers, like little figurines or something. Um, Things for kids to enjoy that aren't single-use plastic based or wrapped. Also like apples. There was a house near me growing up that always gave out fruit, and I remember going to get my fruit every single year and being really excited about it. So, ooh, I also like the doing it wrapping gifts and maps or like calendar photos. That would be really pretty. I hadn't thought about that yet. It's a good idea.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Something I started about 15 years ago was a concept I call permanent gift wrapping. And so I go to the thrift stores all through the year and collect decorative boxes, especially women's scarves. And then I add a note if it's that family or that person's first time of getting my permanent gift wrapping. I add a note that this is to use, reuse, or donate, but not to go to the landfill. And so that actually inspired a niece of mine when I was doing this since she was 7 to go into a sustainability career with her
Oh,
life. So, and then just a couple categories of gifts in addition to what you mentioned is consumables. For people who mostly I get them from thrift store. I mean, I get my gifts from thrift stores, but for people that I think maybe a little bit fussy about that, I look for consumables at the farmer's market. So it's local and it's something that they can be used up, uh, packaged not in plastic, but glass jars or something similar. And the other one is a category called gifts of the heart, where you identify, and this is work best within your own family, but some chore that that person hates doing, and you take that on for the year. I've given my husband an automatic win in any argument for the upcoming year as a gift of the heart. So things like that that you come up with that are really meaningful for that person.
Great idea.
that's a really cute idea. I might enlist that idea this year for my family.
Feel free to steal it.
That's what we're here for. We're here to like
Yeah.
exchange resources
Yep.
and ideas. I love it.
Also, just kind of just stepping out of the assumptions of what a holiday looks like
Mhm.
and talking about it in your household about what you really want to do. What would you enjoy? And just make it that way. And don't, because a lot of the stuff is designed
Mhm.
around the profitability of making wasted stuff. So
Yeah.
if we make deliberate choices about how we want to celebrate, then we might have more fun and automatically get rid of some of the junk.
Yeah, maybe some people in your life don't want to do like a gift exchange. Maybe you all want to like invest that money that you would have spent on a gift into like going on a little trip or something together. And so my family did that one year and it was during the pandemic. We went on like a camping trip instead of doing a gift exchange and it was really fun. It was just my household, so it was COVID safe. But yeah, that's always a good idea to just like engage with the people around you and talk about what they actually want to like take away from that holiday.
If you don't normally do it on a regular basis, it's a really great time to visit the various botanical gardens that we have here in Tucson. Tucson Botanical Garden in particular will have, I think they're going to have their holiday lights show. It may be up already actually. And that would be a great family experience or an experience gift to a child and take them around to show them what the desert is like.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I was going to say, not just a child. I took my mom there last year. It was really great because it's so awesome with all the lights they put up and they have different musical displays and everything. And it's just, yeah, that's a really great display.
Also, like festive meals, can also be like a very, I don't know, like gift kind of experience as well. If there's like a restaurant that has like a special like winter dish or something that they do, and that it's like kind of a fun place to go to. Um, Here in Oregon, we have a lot of like restaurants that are, kind of more out in the wilderness sort of areas of Oregon. And so like taking a day to like go out to those and do a hike and then go out to like lunch at a lodge or something is always really fun.
Our family wanted to go to the Lights Up, and when we figured out it was going to cost something like $200 or 120, it was very expensive. Have they changed the prices since that time?
It's pricey, but it is. At first, I was thinking, oh, it's not worth it, but it really is worth it. So
Hmm.
I didn't mind doing that. It does help to keep the botanical garden going. So that's always an important thing too. And I'm pretty sure the Desert Museum also has something special for the holidays, but I haven't been out there recently to check that out.
Yeah, Lights Up is November 28th through January 11th. So thank you, Dan, for that endorsement. That makes me want to do it.
And I was going to piggyback on what Dwayne said as far as not really doing the gift exchange. I mean, we really haven't done it for years. And, generally we just enjoy having a holiday meal together and usually having whoever the family is available in the area to come together for the holiday meal and, play some games or whatever we do. And that's pretty much it rather than, because let's face it, most of the time, well, Jana, my wife, is always giving me a hard time because she's always like, well, I can't get you anything because if you need or want anything, you're just going to get it anyway. So, there's nothing for me to give you as a gift. So what's the point? Because I mean, let's face it, how many times have you gotten a tie that you'll never wear or, something that you just don't need? And it just makes a lot of more sense to enjoy the time with each other and not
Mm.
waste the money on something you don't need.
Yeah, for sure. I think we've all gotten gifts at some point that were like things we weren't going to use or maybe only use once and then sit in the back of our closet forever. But I like the idea of doing like a family dinner or friends dinner and then just like hanging out together and playing games.
Grace, I've got a question for you. You may have covered it before I got here.
Go for it.
Um, one of the gifts I've enjoyed from um, members of our family was a box of fruit.
Well,
It
fun.
seems, is this the best way to do it? Like it's fruit sent from some beautiful farm in Oregon, let's say, or I sent something to my family in San Francisco Bay Area from Solano County, which is not too far from San Francisco.
Yeah.
Everyone likes it, but do you think that's a good way to do gifts, or is that got too many expenses tied to it, or too many wastes?
No, I don't mind that as like a gift idea at all. I think that that's a very like I mean it's relatively low packaging. It's pretty low shipping. Like they can't ship them that far. And so they're relatively local, like you were said, they're just maybe a county or two away. And so and something that like the person will probably enjoy, and then actually really use to the full extent that it's able to be used. So yeah, I like that as a gift idea.
And a lot of the environmental organizations have things that you can give either a membership to something
Mhm.
that that person would relate to, or do something like Heifer International. Um, and there's one other that does This Old Goat or something like that, that gives goats to people in, I think, a specific country like Afghanistan or something. Um, so that's another option, is to honor that person's commitment through a membership.
Yeah, donation gifts are definitely very good ways. And they're kind of fit into that like sentimental gift giving category of like something that's meaningful to them, and maybe contributes to like a positive change that you both want to see in the world.
And handing down heirlooms, especially for people in my age category where we're kind of looking to downsize anyway. If you can identify a family member to whom that item would have some meaning, this is from your great grandma, this is I made a baby blanket from a robe of my mother's, which is the baby's great grandmother. So things like that where you can carry on that family connection
Yeah.
is obviously a zero waste.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. I really like that as a gift idea as well. I also like the idea, someone said it, but in the chat, but a Christmas sing-along. I think that that's a really cool, like experiential way to celebrate a holiday, as like a family or friend group instead of just celebrating via gift exchange. And I'm sure it would be like very entertaining to do with your family as well, or at least with my family.
We've got a number of really good ideas. In
Mhm.
fact, a couple people put the website for Heifer International, and they have all kinds of animals that you can gift to people who use them for to make a living or to feed their family in other countries. And Laura mentions that Tono Chul Park also has a holiday lights experience. So that's another good way to support the garden and enjoy the experience.
It's cool you guys have so many light experiences near you guys. That's a really cool thing to have. I'm gonna have to go to those the next time I'm in Arizona.
Yes, absolutely. Other suggestions or things to do to reduce waste? I've seen suggestions for things like a leftovers party, another party a little bit after the holiday, but everything is made from leftovers, and you can do some really great things with them. I mean, we really like our leftovers. So
And then you also get a break from eating your own leftovers.
Yes.
that's right. Yeah, that's a good point. Any other thoughts or suggestions?
I just want to highlight again, thrift shops, thrift shops, thrift shops. And
Yeah.
Goodwill in particular has a huge selection of Halloween costumes every year.
Which one was that?
Goodwill.
Goodwill. Okay. Good to know. Okay, well, if we don't have any more suggestions or questions for Grace, thank you very much. This was, I think, important to have the scary part and as a kind of motivator for really trying to do even more than most of the people here are doing already. And we'll wish you a happy Halloween, happy Thanksgiving, happy happy December, whichever holiday it is you celebrate, or any or all of them, because there are certainly quite a few.
There are quite a few, yeah.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
I had a question. So people are putting stuff about Halloween, and how would you say handle things differently as far as say bulk items? Because you couldn't just like have them reach into a bowl, say, and put it in their bag. So
Yeah.
how would you handle that without packaging?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. Um, I for bulk things, I would prioritize like things wrapped in paper because it's recyclable. So there's like little candies that are wrapped that come pre-wrapped
Right.
in paper or compostable materials. Or I would go for like some sort of like fruit or non-edible gift that doesn't have to be individually packaged. Like someone had talked about apples earlier. You could have a bowl of apples that didn't need to be individually packaged for them to be considered like safe for consumption. But yeah, I would not recommend the just like bowl of loose candy for people to like reach into and grab for a great many reasons. But um, I think that like individually think packaged things. You can also get little paper bags. I'm so sorry. I have two kittens and she's was being so good. Um, um, like little paper bags are an okay option because they're at least recyclable and they're not just single-use plastic going to landfill.
Paper bags. I mean, how would you do that?
You can get like little, I'm not describing this very well, but you can get like little, like they're little paper wrappers almost to put things in if you're going to do like a bulk gift. But I think the easier option is to just do individually packaged things if you're going to do those that aren't packaged in plastic. So compostable or paper material to begin with.
I mean, where would you even find those?
They're actually
I've never
pretty,
even seen anything like that.
so a lot of like lollipops now are coming in, like paper wrapping instead.
I
There's
haven't seen it.
also, oh, I can I can find some resources on it and send it to
Okay.
Paula to share.
Okay.
If that works for Paula.
Yeah, that was
Um,
great.
I can send those in a few minutes, but they're also like candies now that come in, yeah, like toffees are wrapped in wax paper. Tootsie Rolls and Pops are the lollipops that are wrapped in wax paper. And then there's now chocolates that are wrapped in compostable paper that are at market. And also some like Smarties, those kinds of things come in paper, like wrapped in paper as well.
If you can send us,
Yeah, I can send some resources on
yeah, that's just
non-plastic packaged candy.
some suggestions.
Yeah.
Um,
And then someone else put in the chat about being able to, that some of the packaging is recyclable.
Mhm.
I would have no idea how would that work.
I mean, paper-based packaging would be the recyclable version. And so if
Mhm.
you're able to find candy, which I can send Paula the resources on because I don't have it up right now. But yeah, so someone else said that there's sometimes candy in the bulk section, which is then wrapped in paper. Then you can just recycle, or ideally the people that you're handing it out to would recycle it. Then it kind of is out of your control whether it's recycled or not. But at least it's recyclable material you're putting out into the world and not plastic.
Yeah, and also the number four plastics, a lot of stores will collect that and they do actually recycle them because there's a market for it. Also, I know there's mixed views on the orange bag program here in Tucson, but they will also, of course, take all of that soft plastic
Mhm.
and they use that mostly for buy blocks here in Tucson. But yeah, that's all things that are recyclable. It's a little more work, not as easy as throwing it in the blue bin, but there are places that you can collect the number four plastic, the LDPE.
Yeah, I thought that that was something not to support because a lot of it ends up being incinerated. So I'm really confused about that whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long conversation, but
Yeah.
there are definitely a variety of very valid views on that.
Yeah.
what stores would collect the number 4 plastic wrappers?
Several do. I believe that Fry's still collects bags because you just put it in your returning the shopping bags you're returning because they have a box for accepting those. I'm pretty sure Sprouts has one, Fry's has one, maybe Safeway. So yeah, they do collect back the number four bags, which is what they use for their shopping bags as well.
And you feel if they do then recycle that stuff or do something with it?
I would say probably actually the orange bag has a better chance of being recycled. People are talking about whether it's being burned or not. Um,
Yeah.
the orange bags definitely there's a market for it with buy block because they do use those. But yeah, it's going to be there is a market for the number four. So yeah, a lot of times it'll be recycled. Maybe not all of it will, especially if it's dirty. But yeah, again, we could
One thing
probably
that
go into a
you
whole into a whole discussion for another hour or so on that.
Another thing that you could do is peanuts in the shell, and that way they could just grab a handful of them. So you don't have to have any packaging. The shell is the package, and they can put them in
Hmm.
their jack-o'-lantern, go on their way.
Yeah, it's sort of
Only a lot of
a
kids
way
are
of,
allergic to peanuts, but
Yeah. Yeah, and also I don't think I would let the kids grab them even if they are in the shell because a lot of times I know I always used to suck the salt off of the salted ones. So you probably want to, have a glove if you're going to do handle something like that and drop it in the kids' bags instead of having them grab it out of the bowl. Because kids are nasty, let's be honest.
Yeah, yeah. Kids, there's a lot of contamination of germs that could happen on Halloween if you're not if you're not careful. And yeah, someone else mentioned saltwater taffy, and I mean it does depend on like the brand and where it comes from, but a lot of times saltwater taffy is in packaging that's not just plastic based.
hmm.
Um, I'm also going to drop my email address in the chat. So if anyone has any other questions, feel free to like reach out to me. I'm happy to answer them. And then I'll send Paula some resources on non-plastic packaged candies to send out to you guys.
Grace, I'm just curious, where in the US does Public Interest Research Group have staff members? And what would be the closest to Tucson?
Phoenix.
Is there like one person there?
No, we have a team in Phoenix.
Okay.
They just weren't able to be a part of the webinar today.
Okay.
But Paul had initially reached out to Diane, who's the state director of the Arizona PIRG chapter.
Cool.